Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Wacky Wonderful Show. I'm here, Wyatt. I'm one of your hosts, and Joe is also one of your hosts.
And I'm Joe.
He's Joe.
How you doing, everybody? We're here back once again to talk about. Man, I'm seeing my hair in the monitor over there.
But you had some hairs that were just like coming out like this.
Gosh, I don't know why I didn't wear a hat today. You know, my hair goal is going to be to wear it in a bun.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm growing it out. Also, I've always wanted to have long hair. But the process of getting it to that length is a hassle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've noticed, I've been wearing hats a lot.
Yeah.
It's because it's the best way to contain it. Well, it's not long enough to put it in a scrunch.
I've done the bun thing. It hurts. It gives me headaches.
You gotta get the ones that look like spirals.
No. The just pulling my hair backwards gives me headaches.
Oh, it does.
I don't think my head consistency is right. Something wrong with my head.
Something wrong
with
my head consistency.
Why are we so close?
It's because it's a tight frame. We're glad you're here, everybody.
Yeah.
And we're super excited to talk to you today. And we're gonna do the last bit of the Dune series that we've been going on here on the Wacky Wonderful Show. We're on episode 7 of the show, by the way.
Yeah.
And this is week 3 of Dune. Now, Wyatt, what are you bringing to the table this week?
We're just going to do sort of a brief character study on Chani Kynes.
Is that her name and you're sticking with it?
I'm sticking with it. I've looked up a lot of YouTube videos and everybody says Chani.
Chani?
Or Chani.
I personally like Chani.
I prefer Chani, but I kept hearing Chani.
No, I heard Zendaya say Chani.
Chani? All right, we might go with Chani. Stick with Chani. If she's saying it.
Zendaya said it.
If she's saying it, then we might stick with that.
Chani.
I've heard it's another one of those things. You hear it and you're like,
heard it both ways.
What
are people gonna say when we put our video up?
I don't wanna
upset.
I don't want to be saying two different names.
Yeah. So
I'm going to pick one, and I'm going to stick with it. I like the way Chani sounds.
It feels like Dune.
Yeah.
Chani sounds like Pennsylvania. Like a word a Pennsylvania man might come up with.
when she was played by a white actress, Chani sounded right. I'm serious.
I hear you.
You know, and her father in that one was white, and it was, you know, it felt very, you know.
But according to the books, what is she? It doesn't specify.
Fremen. And the Fremen are traditionally, you know, they live in the desert, so they have darker skin. And
makes sense.
Yeah. Even though her parent, Wyatt Kynes, you know, in the books is a man, in the movies is a woman, is not originally from Dune. Yeah. So we're going to jump into that a little bit.
Yeah.
They don't talk about it in the movie.
I'm excited to learn because obviously we don't know a lot about her from the movie. And that was a bit of a surprise, not earth-shattering.
Yeah.
Just a bit of a surprise to watch the movie and then realize, oh, they aren't giving us much of her character in the part 1. And we're expecting, obviously, to have a ton of her in part 2. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to learning from you, my man. Knowledge.
I'm hoping it's going to be some good information.
I'm going to learn. I learn every week.
I learn a little bit too. I know a lot about camera work.
Do you?
I feel like I do.
All right. What's the one thing that you've learned the most?
I probably one of the things that sticks in my head the most is backlighting and shadow side filming.
That's
also
good.
180 degree rule.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Breaking the 180 degree rule.
How to break it?
Yeah.
Or how to get out of a 180 degree scene.
How to break the 180 degree rule. Yeah.
You break it. Or it's not really breaking it because it's part of the rule, but if you want to switch sides, you show the switch.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
Do something. I mean, I knew about the 180 degree rule, and I've seen the way people manipulate it in movies, especially like The Matrix or something. Yeah. But I do like learning about all this stuff.
You know, when it comes to films, there's a lot of things that make your film and your video look better and better and better and better. I mean, Greg Fraser, he is the top of the top, you know? And as of right now, I mean, he did Mandalorian. He did Rogue One. He's doing the Batman film. He's done Dune. He's done a whole bunch of stuff. And so he's the best. So he knows how to make it look good. But honestly, if I'm gonna take one thing and say how do you make your film look cinematic, and you only have one rule to follow, shoot shadow side.
Yeah.
Because it's a thing that we all see every time we turn on the TV, and we never think about it.
Right.
You never think about, if you're not training yourself to think where the light's coming from, you don't think, oh, we're on the dark side of them.
Right.
But when you do that, that's when the camera starts working with you instead of you trying to work, like force the camera to work for you. Just shoot shadow side.
And now, what did you say? Greg Fraser? He's the
DP.
The DP on this movie. You say he did Rogue One?
He did Rogue One.
See, I felt like
he did Mandalorian.
I felt like Rogue One looked different than all the other Star Wars movies.
Rogue One looked great. I thought the dialogue in Rogue One is terrible.
A lot of the story in Rogue One, really bad.
Well, the story concept was super cool. The characters and the dialogue fell short.
Yeah, they didn't have much depth, but the cinematics, the visuals,
beautiful, incredible.
The Darth Vader scene, it was all amazing, and I wondered why it looked so
cool and different.
Because
Greg.
Like, why do I enjoy this movie so much?
Here's a question: do you think I could ever? Greg has come on a few podcasts. One with a guy who only has 5,000 subs.
Ooh.
I'm thinking about reaching out.
It's not much of a step down.
Not a huge
from
one.
5,000 to.
The thing is, he just has to see my invitation. He has to take a second to look at what we do and say, I'm interested, or I'm not interested.
Yeah.
It's always worth to reach out. I might reach out to him.
Nothing ventured.
He only has 80,000 subs on Instagram.
Okay. I mean, that's a significant amount.
It's significant. But I've also talked to somebody who had 50,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
And 180,000.
I mean, we've talked with guys that have been on TV.
We have.
Wayne.
Yeah, he was on Forge and Fire, which is now on Netflix. So we've talked to people. So I'm thinking it might not be that far to get him.
You gonna get flustered?
No.
Talking to Greg?
No, he's really down to earth.
You think?
I've watched this podcast he's been in. He's really down to earth.
I mean, whether you're down to earth or not.
We're talking as if he's already said yes.
See, I feel like if I'm talking to when I'm talking to one of my personal heroes, I'm like,
and your name is Greg.
Greg.
I knew a Fraser. Maybe you're related.
How you doing, Craig?
Craig.
What didn't you say Daniel Craig once?
I one time said Daniel
Craig.
You want to know the story why I said that?
Yeah.
It's because I knew in high school a Daniel Fraser. And I got the name Greg and Craig confused. Wow. So my brain said, say Daniel Craig. Say it.
Say it.
It's right.
It's right. Oh, man.
I'm going to be bringing to the table tonight basic composition. Now, you might have, if you followed us along the journey, you might have noticed, I feel like you've talked about this before with Harry Potter. And I have, to an extent. I want to give you examples. I think it's beneficial. And the whole, behind the videos I make, the message is always going to be, if you learn and solidify in your mind tips and tricks to filmmaking, then when you watch films, you analyze it and can learn from them in a much deeper way. And all you have to do is know what to look for and then watch the movies. That's what I've always believed for myself, and I want to bring that to the table. So what I want to do is, even if I am repetitive, even if I've showed these ideas before, this is a new film. We looked at it in Harry Potter. Now we're going to look at it in Dune.
That's good. I think it's I think it's good for people who want to have sort of an all-around knowledge or ability to analyze films in a critical way. You know, if you're not satisfied with just watching a movie, you know, and enjoying it at face value, which I do plenty of times, just sit and throw something on and watch it and just not analyze anything. You know, I can do that, but you know, if you want to be able to look at the characters, look at the stories, look at the writing, and then go into looking at camera work, lighting, all that. I think these are great videos to get you started.
Absolutely. At least.
And
the goal is, I mean, for me personally, the goal is like 10 years from now, you can just watch all of the videos I made and you don't have to go to film school. You know what I mean?
Just do a free, maybe you ought to do a course.
Well, I was thinking about that, but then I'm also like, I'm not really into the scene yet.
Oh, okay.
Well, the thing is, when it comes to the arts, I'm all about free education.
Yeah.
And so people who do courses, it's not that it's not that I don't like it. It's just like, and people did take time to learn this, but at the same time, there are other ways to make money than try to do a course. And I know courses are cheaper than college. I know some people get a lot of benefit out of courses. I am just saying that's not how I learned. And I dug deep to learn online. Yeah. And so what I want to do is make it easier for the next person behind me
to find the information.
And I want to bring as much value to people as possible. Yeah. And maybe in return, you will choose to be a fan of us, our entertainment, our information videos, and just choose to follow us along the journey, Yeah. And that, a give and take.
Give and take.
I give a lot and don't make you pay for it. How about that?
I think that's a good plan.
Yeah.
So, who's starting first?
That's you, sir.
It's
me, sir.
It is, yeah. I think your slides are.
So let's go ahead and get into it. We're talking about composition in Dune. Hey everybody, welcome back to the studio. I'm very glad that you're here. Today I am going over basic composition, like still camera composition for films, and we're going to be using Dune as the example. Dune Part One. If you haven't seen the movie, it's beautiful. Greg Fraser, the director of photography. I know there are rules to filmmaking, and a lot of times it's just copied over and over again. But when you see a director of photography, and even a director who changes up the style in such a way that just grabs your attention, and you can't even catch your breath, because you're just admiring these images so much. It's one of my favorite things. Dune happened to be that for me. Everyone is talking about the next Marvel film all the time, and they're a lot of fun. Marvel can be a lot of fun. But they're not pushing the creative envelope. They kind of found a format, and they're sticking with it. You know what I mean? However, this is like classic cinematography, where that's going along with the greats, and they are using visual effects to enhance it, but not too much, and it's beautiful, and the lighting and everything, it's so well thought through. It's such a vibe, Dune is. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to kind of start close up, and I'm going to work backwards. So if you are familiar with the term shooting coverage, basically what it means is you start wide when you're on production, and you get all of the shots required, and you move your way in with the camera. So if you're saying shooting coverage is, you start with, we're going to have an extreme wide shot. Well, then you might get that extreme wide shot or just a wide shot. And then you're like, and now we're going to have a long medium. So you go ahead and get your long medium, and then you get your close up or your medium shot, and then you get your choker shots or your extreme close-ups. And so that's kind of what shooting coverage means, is you start wide, work your way in, and so the editors have plenty to work with. Some directors don't shoot coverage. Some directors know exactly what they want, and they don't want to waste time or memory space or film back in the day. And so they don't shoot coverage. They get exactly what they need. Directors like Clint Eastwood do this. But there's a lot of different ways to do it. So we're going to kind of do the opposite of shooting coverage. We're starting tight, and we're working our way out. So my first slide here is an example of the choker shot. It's kind of flirts with an extreme close-up, but an extreme close-up is just a little tighter with a focus on the eyes or, on the mouth or maybe on some hands. But the choker shot is essentially below the chin, so you're not cutting off the chin, you're giving the chin breathing space, but you're cutting at the hairline or close to it. You're not giving them any headroom. That's kind of the choker shot. You're tight enough to where there's some space on the chin and you're cutting off a part of their head. This is a loved shot. Now, we see this so many times in cinematic movies, Dune included, but if you look at Peter Jackson's work with Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson loves the choker shot. Let me tell you, he loves doing complete dialogue scenes right here. And it's pretty fun. It's a very specific vibe, and this is kind of where you understand the composition of still camera filming. Then you can kind of create your own little style based on what you like if you are making your own films or your own documentaries or such. So that's essentially the choker shot. Let's go to the next one. The next one is the close-up shot, and as you can see, same with the choker, I have a little example that's kind of drawn. It's kind of top shoulders with giving just a little bit of headroom. Just a little bit of headroom. Sometimes it might touch, but barely. So like for these two examples, you have a little bit of a looser close-up with the Baron, and then you have Paul, and you can see that it's just kind of just a tiny bit of headspace, not much, and it's kind of cutting, right around the shoulders. That's the standard close-up, and to be honest, these same principles not only work in film but also in television. When you're on the head comm with the control room shooting news in a studio, and then the news guy says, tighten up and give me a close-up, or say, give me a medium shot. These principles that you're learning that I'm teaching you translate to even that field. So yeah, it's just a pretty tight close-up, but not as tight as the choker. Let's go to the next one. The next one is called the medium close-up. And this is kind of where I, like a general remembering, it's below the chest, above the belly button, predominantly. Sometimes it hits the belly button, usually not. So the bottom of the frame is cutting mid-body. They call it a medium close-up for a reason, because it's in between a medium shot and a close-up, which I'll show you the medium shot in a minute. But what I like to think about this is you have below the chest, above the belly button. That is a good frame of reference for where the frame ends, and obviously you give headroom. And the cool thing about medium close-ups and every shot past this one is that you kind of can get creative with the headroom. If you look at this top picture with the Bene Gesserit lady and Paul, she has a big hat on. So they gave her just a touch of headroom above her. But if you look at Paul, who's they're eye to eye, he's got a lot of headroom. Well, also, it's interesting. You have all those books, the framing, everything is beautiful with this image. So you can start being a little creative with how you are framing these things. But it is still a medium shot. It's actually a medium 2 shot. And right below it, you have a medium 3 shot. And it's cool how they keep it consistent. Notice in the shot with the 3 characters there, with Leto, it's top of the head to the mid-body, and the mid-body cuts on the next two characters as well, but the headroom gets further as it goes down. Those are little details that's like, this is signifying it's a clear medium shot. If you were to bring the camera up and keep their headroom the same, well, then it would go from like a medium to a long shot, But the camera framing was specific and with a choice, and I think they probably did that because they wanted Leto to be the biggest in the frame. So let's go to the next one. The next one is the medium shot. This is pretty much crotch to waist boundary. A lot of people, it's just midsection. So sometimes you can include the very top of the legs. Sometimes you cut right at the belt line. But pretty much what you're showing is their whole top half. That's what a medium shot is. You see it in Chani here. You see it in Leto and Duncan. It's a little bit different in distance, but they're all considered medium shots. And that's just like medium. Think of like you're getting a drink at McDonald's and you say, I want a medium. Well, you want the middle part between the small, which would be like the close-up, or the large, which would be the whole body. So the medium shot is half of the body. Let's go to the next one. We got the medium long. Some people just refer this to as the long. That's pretty much knees up, or like mid-leg up. So the cool thing about this picture with Duncan is that is a long shot. It is a long shot, but he's crunched down. So you're getting the majority of his body, minusing the bottom half of his legs and the feet. But that would be considered a long shot, even though he's not standing up straight. And this is why it's cool, even when, because you might watch a film and you might say, oh, I don't know what that shot fell into because it doesn't look like anything this guy on YouTube told me to look for. Well, you got to use discernment. What are they showing us? Well, they're showing us all of him, except it's kind of cutting at his legs at the bottom of the frame. So that would be considered a long shot. And you have examples of them standing up straight in long shot. So, and as you see here, sometimes you give them a lot of headroom. Dune did this a bunch. Sometimes you don't. But it really does depend on how much of the person you are showing. And so that's pretty much the medium shot. It's not too, or the long shot. It's not too hard to understand, but it's fun to know and to apply it to what you're seeing on screen. The next one is the full shot. Some people refer to this as the wide shot. It's not technically correct. A full shot means you are showing pretty close to just the full body. So in these three examples, some of them have a little bit of space at the bottom and top of them, but ultimately the majority of the length of the frame is covered by a person, by a character. And so this is considered the full shot. Full shot because it shows the full character. Contrasting that with what a wide shot is. Think of a wide shot as a wide shot kind of can show the entire body of the character or multiple characters and a good bit of the environment. So as you see from these three examples, you have the sand dunes. It's a little bit wider than a full shot. But the point is you have the focus and you have the desert. So it's showing the environment. Right below that you have, I believe that's Paul in that image, or maybe it's a different character. It's hard to see. It's kind of small. But you have a full room and you have small character. But you're showing the room, so you're showing the environment. And this is kind of a good variety of wide shots. And then in the other one, you have many characters as they come down out of the sky. But you're showing the environment, you're showing who all is there, you have a chunk of characters. So these are good three examples. You can get pretty wide on a wide shot and it still be considered a wide, but doesn't quite make it to the extreme wide. And the reason why, and this is personally my definition of the extreme wide, the extreme wide, in my opinion, shows you the entire scene environment. So, or the majority of the scene environment. You might, with a wide shot, you might show where the whole scene takes place. But in an extreme wide, you might show where multiple scenes are taking place or where the main area, like almost like you're looking at a map kind of thing. And you can have tons of people. So these are three great examples. With the sandworm, that's truly, in my opinion, probably my favorite extreme wide shot I've ever seen in cinema. With the sandworm, it's just it's centered up. You just have two characters just staring right into death, pretty much. And it's humongous. And it gives you a perfect sense of scale with these characters and how big these worms are. And then you have, to the right there, you have an entire army. That's an extreme wide. You're showing the environment. You're showing how many people. You're showing literally the landscape that's all around it. And then, at the bottom there, you have mid-battle, this beautiful wide shot. Well, look at those walls from those, I'm guessing those are spacecrafts that are being blown up during the battle in Dune when House Harkonnen is attacking the Atreides family on Dune. And the composition there on some of these wide shots, well, first you have leading lines, which is beautiful. And you have literally like this image of the explosions. You have people running across, but what's happening right above them is literally mirroring each other. So you have this beautiful leading triangle line, and then you have the explosion in the center and these two reflective, I guess those are the shields coming down, happening simultaneously on each side of the explosion. So it's really beautiful. I mean, and this is why Greg Fraser is pretty much probably becoming my favorite director of photography, even though I have honestly, if I'm being very honest, recently discovered him, even though I had seen a few of his films. It's incredible. It's truly gorgeous. He's extremely talented. I was ranting and raving about The Mandalorian and the, how beautiful it was and how innovative they were making that film in a room with screens and the camera technology that they're using to get forced perspective. It's innovative, and I had no idea at the time that Greg Fraser was one of the ones behind that. Well, he was. And now he's done Dune. He's coming out with Batman. He's going to do Dune Part 2. It's incredible. I love it so much. That is basically, to keep it simple, there's a lot more different composition styles I could get into, but I'm guessing if you clicked on this video, you are looking to understand what is the basics. Like, how do I just dip my toes in, if you will, and just understand, like, I just set up a camera on a tripod. What is this shot called? Like, if someone asked me to get a medium shot, what the crap are they talking about? Well, it's half the body now. It's right around the waist. That's a medium shot. And the good thing is, once you learn these principles and you're on set, maybe you're the cameraman or you're the director of photography for an indie film, and the director's like, can we get a long shot or a medium long shot on this character? And maybe you don't have exactly what the director wants, but you're close. So the director's not too annoyed at all, because he's like, oh, I just have to make tiny adjustments for my preference, as opposed to saying, what are you doing? Why are you setting up a wide shot when I asked you to get a long shot? Now you know. I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it's beneficial, and you take this information and you watch films. You apply it to your own projects, because I believe if you understand what to look for and you learn the tips and tricks of filmmaking, then you can actually watch films and learn filmmaking as simply as enjoying them. So thank you so much for watching. Real quick plug. Thank you so much for watching all the way to this point. If you really enjoyed this video, if it meant a lot to you, if you got benefit out of it, would you please consider subscribing to the channel? If it truly helped you out with your personal knowledge and maybe even a project you are going to work on. And if you would also consider, if you like filmmaking, if you like stories, if you like geeking out about Hollywood films and just the entertainment genre, entertainment field, we have a podcast, me, my brother, and my friend. We have a podcast called Wiseworks Podcast. It's a separate YouTube channel. We're also on Spotify. If you enjoy this video, you might enjoy that. I would ask you to go check it out. Consider it. We're just there to entertain you. So, love you, and I'll see you, I guess, in the next video.
Welcome back. Thank you guys for clicking on the video. Happy to have you here. Today we're just going to be jumping into a little bit more from Dune. Just a little bit of character study, kind of some of my thoughts on what we see in the film, and just a little bit sort of getting to know the character of Chani from the movie Dune or from the book. I'm going to try not to delve quite as deeply into the book stuff. Mostly what we see in the movie, and maybe give you a little bit of, who her character is without getting into the entire story and everything that happens. The very first thing, we see in the movie from Paul's perspective is, a vision of Chani and a vision of Dune. it's one of some of the primary stuff that we see in the trailers before the movie came out. What we get in these images and in these visions is not, what we see of the character later on. It almost feels as if her character is kind of tied in with Paul's desire to go to Arrakis and to see Dune and the adventure there, and she's sort of she's very much tied into that idea, and so the visions seem a little bit more fantastic. They're a little bit more dreamlike in that she's this sort of strange, mysterious woman on this strange, mysterious planet that he desires to be on, and just is sort of always constantly in his mind. When he gets there, he continues to have the visions. The visions get stronger with the introduction of the spice, and she becomes sort of almost like a guiding star on his journey into Arrakis. These visions are still more on the fantastical side. They're still more dreamlike. And I think that's probably a lot due to the fact that when he shows up on Arrakis, he's still very much in safety, more or less. He's, in Arakim and not out in Arrakis, out in Dune, where the real danger is. And so his perception of these visions is still very almost childlike, almost dreamlike. And her character is really only providing something of just more allure, I guess, for him. A little bit of information, since we don't get a lot of it in the movie. Just some brief information about who she is. Chani, in the books at least, is Liet Kynes' daughter. Liet Kynes in the movie is the woman. She's in charge of the transferring the rule of the House Harkonnen to the House Atreides. She's like an imperial. She's works for the Empire essentially, and she's the overseer of this change. But secretly, the character is a very ingrained in the Fremen society and is sort of the secret leader of the Fremen, very respected and very feared by the people in the city who aren't, generally amongst the Fremen people. Liet Kynes is very respected and is a huge character in that they're in the books the father of Chani and the leader of the Fremen, and there's a transition of leadership once Kynes dies, and sort of a path for Paul to sort of drive his way towards being a leader in Fremen society. So Chani's character is more than a Fremen. She's she has knowledge of the outside world and of more concepts beyond just the Fremen culture. But on the other side of that, on the other side of the coin, she is very much a Fremen, and the Fremen people are hard people. They live out in probably one of the most dangerous environments, other than the planet that the Emperor's army, the Sardaukar, they live on a hell-like planet as well that trains them to be very robust and very dangerous. Dune is very much the same way. So people who live to adulthood are hard people. spice in this world it's the most important thing for the Empire, but on Dune, water is the most important thing, and they live their lives by water. Everything from tears, spit, recycled fluid from your body, everything. It's a hard life. But they're also, you know, also as survivalists, they have to be fighters as well. They fight amongst themselves and train themselves. So you don't get to adulthood without being an incredible fighter and an incredible survivor on this planet. There's a lot you have to live through to make it to the age that we see these characters. So Chani herself is, she's more than just your typical, princess who needs to be saved. She's a very dangerous individual on this planet and carries a lot of respect. So towards the end of the movie, Paul gets lost. He gets out into Arrakis, into the dunes, and they manage to find the Fremen. And he finally gets to meet Chani, this woman he's seen in his dreams. And you'll notice as the dreams progress, the images of her become less and less fantasy and more grounded in reality. And when he finally meets her, she's not this angelic presence. She's a person, essentially just a regular Fremen person that you wouldn't even be able to pick out of a crowd necessarily. And so you sort of see the progression that in Paul's understanding of Arrakis, and going from it being this, strange and majestic place, the sort of the dangerous jewel of the universe, and holding so much mystery, he eventually learns that it's a place of danger. It's a place of having to survive and having to fight for your life every day. And with that, we see his understanding of the woman in his visions start to become similar to the idea he has of Arrakis, not as this fantasy place, but as this real place. And much like Arrakis, Chani's very dangerous as well, and holds a lot more secrets than what you see on the surface. As the movie wraps up, we don't get a ton from Zendaya, from Chani's character, but we get some good interactions, and we get interactions that almost feel like familiar between these two. In the books, I remember it explaining that Paul has this familiarity with her that she doesn't quite understand, because he's seen her so often that he feels almost like he knows her already. It's very similar to the way he is with his still suit. Liet Kynes asks him if he's done this before, if he's put on a still suit before, because it's fashioned in the Fremen way. And he's like, no, I'm just doing my thing, just putting it on. And so after the final confrontation between Paul and Jameis, we sort of come to the realization that Paul's understanding of reality is going to shift significantly, and Chani's going to play a big part in that shift. And now that she's a real person in his eyes and in his life, she's going to become a guiding force in a very real sense, not just in his mind, of how to be a Fremen, how to survive in this world, and how to be a leader, because she learned from her mother, who was a leader, and she learned from Stilgar, who sort of helped raise her. And so Paul is going to learn the complexities and the dangers of Dune, along with the complexities and dangers of Chani as well. So looking forward to the next movie and looking forward to the relationship between these two. I feel like we're going to get a very similar vibe to the movie, James Cameron's Avatar, where she's sort of I guess sort of a princess. If Liet Kynes was the leader of the Fremen, she's the daughter of the leader, and she's going to take that same role that Neytiri takes in Avatar of teaching Paul their ways, teaching them how to be a Fremen and how to be essentially a native of this planet, and guide him into the future that he is trying to create and one that he's trying to avoid. And so that's what we have on this character. That's kind of just some of the points I wanted to talk about. If you guys enjoyed this, leave a like. Tell me some stuff in the comments. What's your thoughts? What do you think we're gonna see more of from Chani in the next movie? I'm hoping to see quite a bit. And if you guys liked the video, be sure to subscribe. Check us out on the WiseWorks podcast. And we thank you for checking us out. We'll see you next time. And we're back. Once again. Sort of coming to the end here.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
We're back.
We're back.
So, interesting enough, I didn't make the connection between Avatar and Dune.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing. Did James Cameron write the Avatar story?
I don't know.
I never heard of it before, so I'm guessing he did write it, which means he probably took notes from Dune as well.
Avatar,
everybody's
dude,
taking notes from
Avatar takes notes from so much.
It does.
I mean, just the similarities between Avatar and A Princess of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of another desert planet drama.
Which I'm guessing was taken from Dune.
A Princess of... I actually don't know. Maybe a little bit.
Maybe.
Yeah, I was making the connections as I was doing a little bit of research. And...
You told me the weird thing about this is I'd never heard about Dune until you and Jamark started talking about it when they started talking about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then you told me about Dune, and I'm like, this seems really complex. This seems like a huge story in cinema or in anything history, in storytelling history. How come I never heard of it? It's just because I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
But also, you told me that everybody has taken notes from Dune.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody has.
Even me, probably.
We all have.
By proxy. Maybe you took notes from... Star Wars, thinking it's like, oh, it's just gonna be one little remix, and then you accidentally remix it into a perfect mirroring of Dune.
But I mean, it's a classic kind of story. The Emperor is, he fears the Atreides family, so he, creates a trap.
Yes.
Dad dies. What are you gonna do? You got to take revenge. You got to take your rightful place.
You got to fall in love with a desert princess.
Mm-hmm. With the desert princess.
But
yeah.
Who doesn't want a desert princess?
But I mean, she's so much more than a desert princess.
She's a killer.
She's a killer.
She got that eye of the tiger.
Yeah. No, she's dangerous, man.
Yeah, I hear you. No, all Fremen are dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But is Chani more dangerous than... Who was the name of the fellow that Paul dueled with at the end of the film? Jameis.
I'd say...
Paul took him out no problem.
Paul was trained by Bene Gesserit.
Yes. Which it makes sense. Chani is very dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Would she be able to even compete with Paul, though? Because Paul has things they don't have, even though the Fremen are... Maybe that's why the Fremen are going to come to respect him, because they're like, finally, someone who's actually
they
showing
do.
up who's more powerful than us.
They do because of his ability. There's very few people that are as powerful as them. Mm-hmm. They are on par with the Emperor's, Imperial Army, the Sardaukar.
Which would be an epic battle.
Which will be.
Oh, heck yeah.
Which
I don't know nothing about Dune, man.
Which will be an epic battle. Yeah. Well, he has the Bene Gesserit, like the weirding way, which is their martial arts and knowledge. But still, he's kind of hard pressed. I think. Still.
I mean, he was also trained by the same group of people that trained Duncan Idaho.
Yeah, and Gurney Halleck.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's got multiple layers of training in his DNA.
I think his hesitation was he still hadn't killed anybody. Mm-hmm. And this is a planet where it's kill or be killed. Mm-hmm. And he hadn't.
So it's like I don't think they specify how long they were on Dune for.
Yeah,
pretty much they had basically just arrived, and as soon as he arrives, probably within the first month. Yeah, he's got to kill somebody, and his dad's killed. Everybody's killed.
Yeah,
crap.
It's
his best friend.
It's a hard lesson to learn.
It's a hard lesson.
But
think about where Paul was at
mentally.
This point.
Yeah,
he lost his best friend Duncan. Mm-hmm. He lost his pa. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have an army to back him up. Mm-mm. He's a part of a dangerous family name that is being hunted by the Emperor himself. Yeah. Now, he's also building a reputation as the savior for the Fremen, which the Fremen are all already looked down upon. Yeah. He's in a tight spot. Yeah. And also, the Bene Gesserit have kind of qualms with him as well.
Yeah. Well, he's also experiencing extreme visions and things.
And he's getting high constantly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the spice is a drug.
Yeah, he's getting high.
It's a bad drug.
It's a great drug.
It's in everything.
Yeah.
It's dangerous. But yeah, I mean...
Who would have thought when we saw the trailer that the majority of the trailer was just his visions?
Right? We saw a little bit of warfare and stuff in there too.
Yeah, a little bit of Duncan.
But this is the last episode in this sort of mini campaign video series,
and we're definitely going to be talking about Dune here and there on the podcast. However, it might be a little while before we address Dune again. Yeah. In the Wacky Wonderful Show, because it's very topical, as you know, if you're watching.
I think also you've got to,
there's so many stories.
Well, there's also not much,
we can't do a lot yet.
Yeah, there's not enough pictures. There's not enough videos.
There's not enough story.
There's not enough behind the scenes footage. Maybe when we get some behind the scenes footage from this, we'll
dive deeper.
We'll dive into some deep
stuff. And also, we're going to be getting on the Dune Part 2 train early. Early. We're going to be like first ones.
Man, it's going to be
I'm
fun.
excited about Dune Part 2, man.
Yeah.
Just some quick housekeeping. We are taking a quick Christmas break from the podcast and the show on the studio channel, which if you're watching this, you are not watching on the studio channel, you're watching on the podcast channel. On the studio channel, we will here and there during the Christmas break season before we start season 10 of the podcast and continue on with the show here. We will be uploading probably a couple reactions or reviews here and there, but nothing too heavy and nothing at all on the podcast channel. So we're taking a small break for the holidays and to gather ourselves as we enter a new season, which might be the best season yet.
It could be. This would be the best year of our lives. We have no idea.
It could be. It's gonna be.
It better be.
Up to this point.
I don't know what I'm gonna do if it ain't.
We'll be fine if it's not.
If it's not, it'll be all right.
If it's not, it'll be all right.
Okay.
You always plug forward.
Yeah.
Talk to a therapist. You'll be all right. And you all will be all right with us.
You'll be all right without us for a little while.
But
we'll be coming back.
Yeah, if you're a big fan of the podcast, we got over 230 episodes. Go re-listen.
Yeah.
Go re-listen back in early 2021 when Wyatt first showed up and listen to some of those episodes.
Yeah, you got plenty to listen to me struggle through basic conversations.
Plenty to binge. Plenty to
right.
You're not a bad talker. You're not a bad talker. You didn't show up a bad talker.
Well, I have a lot to learn still.
We all do.
Right.
We all do. Go back and if you miss us at all, go back and see what episodes you might have missed the past year. Enjoy those. Give us some grace while we take a few weeks off. But we will be back. Hard-hitting, Wacky Wonderful Show.
Yeah.
Wiseworks Podcast.
We're meandering.
It's the last one. It's okay. It's on the podcast channel.
You're right.
People probably are gone at this point. But if you're not,
because we could keep going for another 5-10 minutes telling these people goodbye.
We could. Let's just go ahead and end her.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.
See ya.